Hello, I'm Caitlin, and thanks for joining me for our adventures through Gale Academic OneFile. Through this research tool, we have access to millions of journal articles and all sorts of other authoritative sources. This is a great resource for finding in-depth information on a variety of topics and going beyond the bookshelf when doing research. With so much information, it can be a bit overwhelming to search. You might be thinking, where do I even start? In this video, I hope to help you with just that, to walk you through how this database works and make sure you can get the most out of it. Before we get started, let's take a moment to talk about searching and browsing. Searching is great when we have a specific thing in mind that we want to research. Getting started is easy. We just type search terms into the search bar and see where that takes us. Browsing is when we thumb through subjects and sources with a more open disposition. We might do that if we know the general area we want to learn about, but we want to see what research is out there to help narrow our focus. Or perhaps we aren't sure of the exact terms that scholars use to talk about a subject. We can learn what the preferred or controlled vocabulary for a subject is by browsing. Let's get started by taking a look around the home page. We have our basic search bar and the link to our advanced search below it. Advanced search is a great set of tools with a lot to offer, which we'll delve into a little bit later. First, let's browse around a bit and explore some of the other possibilities in the database. On the home page, we have several different ways of beginning to browse through the collection. We will start from the broadest and work our way toward the more specific. The broadest approach is to begin by browsing by discipline. Let's say you're taking a chemistry class and you have a paper assignment, but you don't know what you want to write about. Browsing by discipline, in this case chemistry, might be a useful way to thumb through the literature and get some ideas. Maybe you have a clear idea of what you want to research, but you aren't sure what terms to search for. Seeing the terms used to index and organize the articles is a good way to make sure you are using the most productive terms in your research. This is important because the algorithm the database uses to give search results is programmed to match search terms with keywords and subject terms used to index information. So the more your search terms align with the terms that the database uses, the more likely you are to get the results that you want. Once we click on one of the terms within a discipline, we're taken to another page showing us results indexed under that subject term. As you can see, we have some filters and limiters going across the top of the page here, and then clustered in our right-hand corner. These give us different ways in which to narrow our results by content types, publication date, subjects, document type, publication title, sections, Lexile measure, search within, peer-reviewed journals, and document contains images. Let's briefly take a look at each one. The content type limiters at the top of the page allow us to confine our results to just one type of resource, such as academic journal articles, news sources, or magazine articles. For instance, by clicking on News, we narrow our results to just news reports related to the field of study we're interested in, many of them articles announcing developments in the field. If we go back and go to Books, then we get an entirely different set of results. A quick note here. Within this particular database, many of the results under Books link to Gale reference materials, which can be a great place to start if you're looking for big picture explanations of a topic, like, what is atomic theory? Moving to the filters along the right side of the screen, we can see that we have several other methods available to us for limiting our results. Publication date allows us to see only materials published within a specific time period, which can be useful if you want to filter out older material in favor of new, up-to-date research. Subjects allows us to get even more specific with the subject terms linked to our results. Each of the terms under this menu links to a much shorter, even more focused list of resources. Like content type, document type narrows our results to specific kinds of resources. Publication title shrinks results according to the specific publication, the journal, newspaper, or magazine, that the articles were originally published in. As you can see, the top two results under this menu for the chemistry topic we're currently looking at are Science and Nature. Not surprising, given that these are both well-known and respected journals in the physical sciences. Sections gives items that have been indexed with which section of their original publication they were published in. For instance, a newspaper piece that was originally published as an editorial and labeled that way in the database might show up under this type of menu under an option for Opinion and Editorial. Lexile measure is a measure of reading level. Finally, Search Within gives us the capability to do a keyword search within our existing results, including the text of the articles themselves. This can be a great tool for finding out if any of the results generated by your browsing contain specific words or terms that you're interested in. We'll talk more about searching in just a bit, but first we'll look at one of the more interesting browsing features of this particular database, the Topic Finder. What is the Topic Finder? The Topic Finder is basically a visual representation of words or terms that frequently come up in connection with a particular keyword or topic. It's essentially a type of database-generated word cloud. You input a term into the search bar, and the database's algorithm creates a series of bubbles based on words that frequently appear in the results for that term. So that we can see how it works, let's use a term that came up in connection with our previous browsing, atomic theory. This is a term used to describe the science of how atoms are structured, so it's a term that comes up quite a bit in physics and chemistry. What does the Topic Finder give us? It gives us some terms we would expect, like physics or science. But it also gives some interesting results, like research and university. Why? Remember, the algorithm is basically generating a word cloud. And since a lot of the work published in this field is done within universities and written by university-affiliated researchers, words related to university and research, unsurprisingly, come up a lot in writing on this subject. By clicking on any one of these bubbles, you get a series of smaller, more specific bubbles, each representing a keyword picked up by the algorithm. As you can see, the keywords fall under the general heading of the larger bubble we just clicked on, in this case, physics. In this way, the clustering in the Topic Finder can act a little bit like a visual version of the subject menus under the Browse by Discipline function. Each one of these keywords, in turn, will give a list of results at either the bottom or the right side of the page. These are the articles containing that keyword. One important note on navigating the Topic Finder: use this little reset button at the bottom of the window to go back. Do not use the back arrow in your browser, since it will actually take you back to the home page of the database and you'll have to start over. We can also look at the Topic Finder as a wheel instead of a cluster of bubbles, depending on your preferred visual format. In this view, the broader categories are represented by the inner circle of the wheel, and the more specific keywords form the outer circle of the wheel. By the way, if you ever want to return to the home page, all you need to do is click on the words Gale Academic OneFile at the top. This will return you to the landing page of the entire database. Of course, not everyone using this database will be using it to browse. Some people might want to search for resources using the search functions of the database, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Let's say you were interested in music and music research and wanted to use the search functions of this database to look for literature on music-related topics. As you can see, we have a search bar right here on the home page. This is the basic search. Beneath that, we can see a link for advanced search, which we'll look at momentarily. What if you started by typing a general search term, music, into the basic search? What type of results would you get back? Over 216,000 results, and that's just academic journal articles. An impossible amount of information to wade through, right? Fortunately, this is where advanced search comes in. Advanced search can help you introduce additional filters to narrow down your search results to a much more manageable, not to mention more focused, level. So let's take a look at what each of these filters on this page does and how each of them can impact your search results. At the top, you can see these three text fields, followed by drop-down menus. This is where you enter your search terms, as well as indicate which field you want to search. If you click on one of these drop-down menus, you see that there are a number of options available for which parameters you can search in the database, including keyword, entire document, which functions similarly to the search within function we discussed earlier, subject, author, publication title, and document title, meaning the title of the individual article. On the left side of the screen, you'll see two additional drop-down menus. These are for Boolean search operators. Boolean search operators? What are those? Boolean search operators are specific terms, and, or, and not, used to link multiple search terms together. Each of these operators works in a different way to help focus your search. You can think of using these operators a bit like a Venn diagram. Using AND as an operator will cause the database to look only for items containing all of the terms you entered, like the middle part of the diagram where the two circles overlap. Using OR as an operator, on the other hand, will cause the database to return any items containing any of the terms you entered, the equivalent of anything within either circle of the diagram. As you can imagine from the analogy, using OR generally will cause the database to give you more results than if you use AND. But it can be helpful if you want to look for multiple related terms at the same time. Finally, there is NOT, which effectively does the opposite of the other two operators. Rather than telling the database what you want to include in your search, NOT tells the database what you want to exclude from your search. Entering two search terms linked with the operator NOT will cause the database to look for sources containing the first term that do not also contain the second term. Any documents containing the term you enter after the NOT operator will be excluded from the results, even if they contain the first term. You can also enter the operators by typing them directly into the search fields. For example, typing music and psychology into one search field will achieve the same result as typing music in one field, psychology in the next, and having the AND operator selected in the drop-down menu on the left. If you ever have trouble remembering how the operators work while doing a search on Academic OneFile, there's a helpful link here that will give you some information on how to use the operators. These operators are also not just confined to Gale. They're commonly used in other searchable databases too. Scrolling down the page, we can see that there are some other limiters that you can apply to your searches up front. Full text documents, which is checked by default, means that your search results will only include sources where the entire text of the source is already available in the database for you to read. Checking peer-reviewed journals will limit your results to only articles from academic journals that subject submitted work to a peer review process before publication. Just beneath this, we also have options for limiting by publication date. This is set to all dates by default, but by selecting another option on this line, you can limit your results to material published before, on, or after a specific date, or you can ask the database to give you only materials published within a specific date range. Finally, like the limiters under the browse function earlier, you can also narrow your results by document type, publication title, subject, and Lexile measure. In a database with millions of articles, all of these can be a great way to prevent information overload. So let's start with a keyword search, building on our previous experiment with the basic search function. If I were to type the word music into one of these keyword fields with no other limiters, what results would that return? About 63,000 academic journal articles. Still way too much stuff, but not as much as the basic search. Why? A clue is over here on the right side of the screen, where we find an explanation of what the keyword search function does. Contains these terms in key fields. Does not search entire document. This means that despite outwardly seeming quite similar, the keyword search function actually works a little differently than the basic search. The basic search is going to just look for the term you enter, in this case the word music, in the results, giving the broadest possible set of results. The keyword search, on the other hand, is going to look for your search terms only in the important fields that give information about a document's overall content, like the title or the subject terms, with the idea being that this will give you a slightly more focused search. Of course, there are ways we can limit our searching even further, the most basic being to enter multiple search terms. How about music and psychology? 1,000 journal articles. I know this probably still seems like a lot, but it's much better than the 63,000 results we had just a few moments ago. Looking at these first few titles, we can also tell that our results are becoming more focused. We can, however, continue to refine these using the filters here on the right side, the same filters that have appeared throughout the database. So, for instance, we can go to subjects and see what subject terms appear in the indexing of our articles, and see if we can narrow our topics somewhat. How about music therapy? Only 83 results, a much more manageable amount of information. Going to the subjects menu again, we can actually narrow it even further. This can be useful for the same reason as the search within function. If you have a very specific keyword or subject term you're looking for and want to see if it appears in this set of results. However, since we're already in a pretty specific topic area, this could return only a few very narrow results, which is something to keep in mind if you're doing more general research. Often when doing research, you'll want the latest, most up-to-date information about a given topic. As I mentioned earlier, using the publication date filter, we can narrow our results to give us just that. Say you wanted to look at publications from the last 5 years. Since it's currently 2023, this means we would only want results published in 2018 or later. So let's enter date January 1st, 2018 in our From field. We'll then enter today's date in the To field, giving us everything the database has within this subject area from 2018 until the present. This narrows our results to 48, from 63,000 down to just 48. This is why these filters are really useful. What about a different search? Since we're talking about a library database, how about music and libraries? 1,670 results. Clearly there's a lot of material out there about music and libraries. Scrolling through the first several results, it looks like many of these are, unsurprisingly, about music collections in libraries, as well as considerations around libraries collecting and loaning music-related materials. This one looks interesting. Clicking on a result will bring up the full text of the article directly in the database. However, the article page also provides us with several other options to navigate to additional resources with similar content to the article we're currently viewing. On the right side, we can see a panel entitled Explore, which provides links to a few related articles as well as related subject terms. Just under the article's title, we can see that the names of the authors as well as the publication title are also hyperlinked. These would take us to additional work published by the same author or within the same journal, respectively. Looking at the title of this article, it appears that this is the second part to another article previously written by the same authors. How might we find part 1? There are a couple of different options for doing this. We could return to the advanced search page and do a search for the article title, Surveying the Composers. We could click on the author name, taking us to a list of the author's other articles in the database, and see if the article we're looking for appears there. Finally, we could see if the article appears in the list of related results on the right. In this case, it does. So now that we've found the article we're looking for, are there any ways to save it to refer back to later? How about citing it in our own writing? In the top right corner, we can see options for Cite, Send to, Download, Print, Get Link, and Highlights and Notes. These are all tools designed to help you keep track of your research as you navigate the database, and to save or bookmark information that you may need to come back to. Send to allows you to send a copy of the article to your Google Drive, your Microsoft OneDrive, or your email. If you choose to use this option, you'll be directed to log into the account you want to send the article to. as well as asked to grant the database permission to access your account for purposes of downloading the article. If you grant this permission, then a document containing the text of the article will be created and saved to the account you chose. In Google Drive, this access permission can be removed later under your account settings. Alternatively, you can also choose to download the article directly to your device by choosing the Download option. Or, if you still have a fondness for paper, you can choose the Print option to print out the full text of the article. Directly next to these tools is the option Get Link. Clicking on this will bring up a permanent link which you can then copy and paste into another document so that you can return to this page at a later time without having to save the article locally. Highlights and Notes is primarily for keeping track of text you've looked at within the span of a single session in the database. Selecting any of the article text with your cursor will allow you to highlight it, as well as make notes. Text that you've bookmarked in this way can then be referred back to using this tool. Importantly, however, this tool does not carry across multiple sessions. Exiting your web browser will erase the cache of data saved by this tool, so if you're going to be doing research across multiple sessions, it's important to make a note of your progress somewhere else. Finally, there's the Cite tool. This is an example of what is known in research databases as a citation generator, and it helps you make sure that you're citing others' research correctly in the bibliography or works cited page of your own paper. Clicking on this tool will bring up a window containing a citation for the article you are currently looking at. The default is MLA, but there are also options for 3 other major academic styles: APA, Chicago, and Harvard, allowing you to select the proper citation formatting for the specific style that you're using in your writing. You can then copy the citation from this window and paste it into an external document. There are also options for several citation managers. If you're using one of these programs, then selecting the relevant option will let you export the citation directly to your citation manager. As you can see, the Gale Academic OneFile database is a great tool that provides access to huge amounts of information, ranging from academic journal articles to news reports, and is designed with research in mind. Whether it's browsing by topic, keyword searching, subject menus, or the tools for keeping track of your work, there are plenty of ways to get the most out of Academic OneFile and explore the information available to you. I hope this walkthrough of the features of this database will help you start your research and find exactly what you're looking for. Good luck!